Yes boys, how you guys doing today? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to a completely different video today. It's a fun one. In the build up to that big game this Sunday against Liverpool, it's based on that eternal debate between Lampard and Steven Gerrard. In today's video, I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions with a different take as always, talking about who I think was the more superior player. But before I get into that though, I want to play you guys a short clip, and I want to say thank you to the guys at 88 Sport for sending this in to me. You guys, I suggest that in the description below, you watch this clip for yourself. It's very short, only 2 minutes, but there's a lot of interesting talking points, and I'm telling you, if you want to get involved in this debate, you can. If you're someone that listened to me and clicked on the link to go to 88 Sports channel to see the video, make sure you comment Nini knows in the comment section for that video. Now, getting back into things, I'm going to play a very short clip so we can kickstart this entire debate.
Right, so the big debate between our sets of fans will always be Lampard versus Gerrard.
That was the right answer.
Frank Lampard.
No, Steven Gerrard. Lampard can score goals, yes, but he cannot boss, and I mean boss in midfield, dominate in midfield. He can finish off what other people have created, yes, but he cannot influence a game like Steven Gerrard.
Now, obviously, no disrespect to the guys that were filming and taking part in this video, but I can't lie, it was slightly painful. Now, I want to start with the first point. One argument I hear all the time is that Gerrard had more of an influence. And that always kind of puzzled me. What does that actually mean? If he had more of an influence, wouldn't his assist game be higher and better? I'll show you guys an example. If you guys see the stats beside me, look at the Champions League. As we can see, Lampard has double the assists that Gerrard has. Now, why is that? Why is that the case? Well, for me, you guys, my issue with Gerrard's always been that he's a guy that plays more for himself than he does for the rest of the team. And I think this is what adds to Gerrard's aura. You know, when you think of Gerrard, you think of the emotion. You think of moments like the fantastic goals against West Ham and Olympiacos. You know, you think of these like fairy tale moments. You know, he was a guy that looked to get the fans on his side, you know, playing with passion, Mr. Liverpool, coming from their academy as well, etc, etc. You know, when you think of Gerrard, you think of all the emotions around him. But because of this, it means that we don't break down Gerrard and see things from a purely analytical point of view. And I think this is where Lampard does get affected in this debate, because even though Lampard's influence was crazy in the Chelsea team, irrespective of the quality of the teammates he played with, he had a bigger influence with the team. And I'm sorry, but influencing your team is much more important than influencing the fans. Now, I'm gonna give you guys some examples. Let's look at Gerrard and Lampard and let's compare them in their most, successful periods in their teams. Now, with Gerrard, you think of two notable generations, the one that had Torres playing up front, and that front three with Sterling, Suarez and Sturridge. Now, in those systems, was Gerrard playing in this normal box-to-box role? No. Gerrard played behind Torres, or he played in the pivot deep in midfield. And why is it that so many managers would look to use Gerrard out of position when he was supposed to be the most key aspect of the Liverpool team? Why is Gerrard always playing these sacrificial roles to help get the best out of the team? Maybe that's because Gerrard plays more for himself than he does for his teammates. Gerrard couldn't be trusted to play in central midfield positions because he didn't have that tactical discipline, and to be honest, that's something he should have always had. I think he didn't have that because he never cared for that, because he purely cared about boosting his stats, being seen as Mr. Liverpool, and of course trying to be the face of the club. I'm not saying they're bad things, I can imagine that Liverpool means so much to Gerrard, but sometimes your love for something can affect what you do in those big moments. I've got another example. Why is it that Lampard and Gerrard is the guy to be known for the big mistakes? There aren't any big mistakes you can really remember from Frank Lampard, but with Steven Gerrard there's a few own goals in big games or decisive moments where he's slipping on the ball and letting guys like Demba Ba run through on goal. Now it got me thinking, if you're a guy that sees yourself as, Mr. Liverpool, it means that in high pressure, high profile moments like this, you're gonna feel the pressure more because it means more to you. And when you feel that pressure more, it means that you are gonna be prone to making big mistakes in big games. And that's one thing that Gerrard's done quite a lot throughout his career. And I've got a final point as well. Now, I'm going to take you guys back to that infamous game against Germany in the World Cup. England lost 4-1. And I remember the outcry in the press because all the media figures were shouting for Gerrard to play in behind the striker instead of playing down the left. Now, there's a big reason why Gerrard was constantly used out of position by guys like Benitez, Houllier and Capello, and that's because of that tactical indiscipline playing in the middle. The first half ends very unlucky with that Lampard effort that hits the crossbar and basically kickstarted this whole VAR debate. Comes to the second half, and what happens? What does Gerrard do? What does he typically do? He sees himself as the chosen one, the saviour that's going to win the game for England. And what he does is, instead of following tactical instructions, he starts to play for himself. He stays more in fields instead of helping support Ashley Cole down the left hand side. Basically just playing in the middle, meaning that our passing options got worse, meaning that the gaps between our defence and our midfield got even bigger, meaning that Germany could counter-attack so easily anytime they wanted. And they did that by attacking the spaces down the left, and we got exposed there because Gerrard wasn't there to help out Ashley Cole go 2v1, and it meant that Ashley Cole couldn't get forward and show what he can do in attack. He affected the entire team balance, and this is a major example as to why so many managers have used Steven Gerrard out of position. If Gerrard really had this massive impact that's constantly being preached about and said every single time, and it's this influence that makes him better than Frank Lampard, then why are the realities completely different? Lampard has never had to worry about being used out of position because he doesn't affect the team. He plays for the team, he complements them, and his influence, his real influence, is the main reason why we were so good as a team. I mean, think about it. The guys playing box to box. Remember the times where Lampard would be dropping deeper to help kickstart attacks. He'd be the guy that would win those tackles in midfield, kickstart counter attacks. When he wins the ball, look what he does with it. He was constantly finding players with his accurate, superb through balls, either finding Ashley Cole or let's say Basunga down the right hand side. Time and time again, he could play those accurate balls to Didier Drogba. He knew how to play with Drogba, played off him fantastically well, and as you can see already, look at the influence he had. Without Lampard in that team, could the fullbacks have done as well as they did? Could Didier Drogba have been as great as he was? And would our midfield have any goal threat if it wasn't for Frank Lampard? You can see his influence all around the team, and let's compare it to Steven Gerrard. You know, if Gerrard is out of those Liverpool teams, does anything get affected? I'm sorry you guys, but most likely not. Now I want to ask you man this. With how Liverpool are currently right now, would you bring Gerrard into this current Liverpool team, and do you guys think that Liverpool would be as successful as they are now? I'm not too sure, and it comes down to that tactical indiscipline. Now you guys might be thinking, Nini, we get it. You know what, not every player is perfect, but let's actually just focus on the attributes of each player. Now you guys might be thinking, Nini, you know what, I get it, not every player is perfect, but let's just focus on the attacking attributes. Let's focus on the takers of the players. You can't be telling me that Frank Lampard is better than Steven Gerrard. I'm sorry to burst that bubble for you guys again, but this whole notion that Lampard had zero technique, I don't understand. And, you know, as a Chelsea fan, it is quite frustrating because, you know, around this period, the media only cared about the drama around the club. You know, they cared about what Mourinho had to say, things happening behind the scenes. Too often, the actual football, the actual performances from the players weren't really highlighted or spoken about enough. And maybe that's because we don't have enough ex-Chelsea players taking up media positions on TV. That could be a reality. I've got to be honest, you guys, I think that both players had superb technique. And I think it would be kind of a waste of time to really try and micromanage and break down, you know, who was that 1% better. For me, they're in the same tier, the same bracket. However, if you were to assess these players based on their complete overall game, well, there were more things that Lampard could do that Gerrard just couldn't do. And maybe this is reflected in how both players ended their careers. The ironic thing is they both went to the MLS, but what wasn't ironic was how Lampard basically was able to continue to play the same role he's always done. You know, ending that season with, I think, the New York club with 16 goals. Gerrard did well with LA Galaxy, getting 15 goals, playing in a deeper position. And who knows, Let's say Gerrard was taught how to play in a deeper role from when he was a kid. He'd be a much more complete player for that, and that would have benefited the national team even more, because for a guy that picked up playing in deeper positions quite late in his career, his stats, especially from a playmaking point of view, have been pretty impressive. But if you're comparing them based on who the better box-to-box midfield player was, then I'm sorry, there's one simple answer, and that is Frank Lampard. More goals, more assists, more affecting moments. You know, these goals aren't just silly tap-ins. Come on, we watch football. We know that there's more nuance in the game than just making a run into free space and hitting it in the net. There's a lot of, mastery of your game you need to have to be able to play the game to such an extent that things like that look very simple to the common eye. That's what the best players tend to do. If they make it look easy and they make it look like anyone can do it, that tends to let you know that these guys are on a different level. But as I said, you guys, Lampard was able to continue playing the way he did because he played for the teams he was at, and Steven Gerrard just hasn't ever been able to do that because he just can't get over playing for himself. You guys, that's my controversial take on things. As I said, to continue the discussion, if you guys want to go to the AAA Sport video, it's going to be in the link in the description below. Make sure you do it. And in the comment section below, type in Nini knows if you agree with me why Lampard was a better player compared to Steven Gerrard. As I said, you guys, a bit of a fun one. And on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. I've got a busy day. Even more videos are going to be coming out later today. So you guys stay tuned. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you guys in a bit.